Okay, Devils, how we doing today? Sam here with you. It's Tuesday, the 21st of May. All right, so polling's up, and top spot went to the ES. I'm not terribly surprised. We've got really challenging, from trying to identify an Elliott count here. It's very challenging as we've come down, started this retracement. Now, of course, I know you can't see that here. I'm just for the broader picture here, still operating on the assumption that I've got my dominant 3 here. I've been through my ABC correction, and now we're in the 1. We're seeking the 2, looking for a bottom down here for the 2 to take us up and carry on in this sequence. So as we sit here, we've made a dent in this, but as to, let me just draw this up as well here just to remind you from this low to our pivot swing high here, we do have some interesting confluence. So you'll note here, I've just got this kind of wicked off here as prior support here, potentially now an area that we might look for. So note the perfect confluence that I have here. I know this is hard for you to see, so I'm going to have to take this one off. Okay, so that's the algo pull from the, well, I know you can't see it. We're going to get there in a second, but from the swing down to this correction here, the 100 being our shortcut for the 1618 is literally on top of the 50. So this, we've got a nice cluster down here. Let's call it 2642 would be an ideal target, and you can see how the median lines would set that up. Now, before that's going to make more sense to you, we got to put together a roadmap as to how we could get there. So with that said, let's try the 30-minute here. So here you can see this a little bit better. I just wanted you to see where we were looking for a reaction here. If we're going to get down this far, can the C get down here relative to where we are? So if I draw it up here now where you can see it. So just taking the swing low, the dominant high to the dominant low, well, you can see here we're a couple shy of the golden zone, but you see where the negative 100 is on top of the 50. So I have this nice point of confluence down here, which is exactly where I'm looking for the 2, or just standard Elliott ops, right? So we're going to look for that 2 between the 50 and the 618. So you look here and you go, wow, man, how are we going to get there? Well, this, whatever we're in right now, what's shaping here does not appear to be done. Right now, at the moment, all I can get is an ABC there, but we'll see if that's going to carry on and we're going to end up with a motive way. Obviously, at this point, it would need to be a diagonal, so we'd be looking for a leading diagonal, potentially to carry us lower here in the 1 wave of the C wave. Now, this move down here has been a real bear. So with all of that established, let me just clear some things off the chart so we can dig into this count here. And this is, well, going to be multiple ways to count this here, but I think what we've got here is of all the choices, I think this is the best case until we get more data to either invalidate this or change it. So God, even here that might not be enough. So let me try and zoom in here a little bit better so we can get a good look at it. Okay, so bear with me. All right, so this very difficult count. Okay, so you got a few points here, and I ran this by some of one of the cool things about this community that I've created. I have members in here that are so damn good at Elliott Wave. I can often now refer to some of my really advanced members and run a count by them, right? Just to double check. That's how good they've gotten. And I ran this by a few people here, and I think, well, here's what I do know. We have a rules compliant move down here, but there are a couple of points of, it's not that they would break a rule. They're just a bit unusual. Well, so first thing here, as it was pointed out to me, it doesn't really look like an impulse, does it? But the structure is there. So if we go 1, now here's the first problem here. So we can get an impulse down into a 1, but we've got to go from there into an expanded flat here to give us this 2 here. So already, that wouldn't be your choice here for the preferred count. But if we look at it, it's really there. It really is, right? So you've got to dig your A out of that, which is no small task. But you've got to allow for a very shallow retrace. So there is almost no retrace in that move there. So it's a bit problematic. And then we went right into the end of this. So this is our gap for a weekend. So this would be Friday into Monday. So a little problematic already. And we have a bit of an unfilled gap. It's kind of interesting. But if we look at the A, B, and the C, well, we can definitely get, well, let me move this over. We can definitely get 5 in the C. So this, albeit it's a shallow A, so we've got 3 in the B, and then I've got a clear impulse in the C. So there doesn't seem to be a better way to count this, right? So it's tempting to think that this would be your one low, and then you wouldn't be forced into the flat, because then I've got an A, B, C. But it doesn't work, because if this is the one low, we would be overlapping here. So then we couldn't have the impulse. Then you're looking for a diagonal. It's not a diagonal. So there's really a process of kind of elimination here as you work from the lows. So what I'll often do is I'm just digging in here going, do I see any impulses? Are there clear impulses where I can definitely spot one here? Now, the 2 is a little shallow, right? So you got them on a 30. You got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got from here into that 3, so the proposed 1, 2, I need an impulse in the 3. Well, there it is. Now here I've got to go A, B, right? It's, digging the C out of there. Let's see, if I even go to the 15, it might clear it up a little bit. It's just tricky in there. So here's that C here. So we've got to go A, B. Yeah, it's just bare, they're going to break down at some point here, but it does look like I can get an impulse in here. I got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that. So I've got to go A, B, C into my 4. Now coming off the 4, yet again, I can get another impulse. It's that one is solid. So here I've got 3 into the B. I've got 3 into the 2. Here's my 4. I've got 3 into the 4. I come down for the 5. So another impulse. So my 3, 4, 5 of the 3 looks fairly solid. Well, note yet again, we've got to work into a flat. Because and what's creating that is this pivot here. Since we're taking out this pivot high, right? Process of elimination, there's not much else we can, not another way we can label this. I've got 3, 3, and I got to dig 5 out of that. So there's my expanded flat, B expanding. Now, I did notice this. So if once you get a count on it and you work through that, well, then you want to start checking for fib relationships to see, does it make sense? Is it consistent with the pivots that we might anticipate? Well, I did notice this. So if you look here, we're just trying to get a sense of where is there an algo play. So if I look here, not bad. If I look here now, this is just standard ops. I'd be looking for, in an impulse, some sort of a relationship between the length of the 3. Now I'm projecting for that 4. Well, I'm hitting the 50 here twice, but I'm a little sloppy on the target down here. So when I see that, of course, immediately I want to check another pivot. Well, notice this. If I go here, get it right on it. Remember, an algorithm does not care about the Elliott count. We're just looking for dominant swings. So I go pump up here. It's a front run on the 618, but look at the target, right? So how do I know it's an algorithm? Well, of course, I'm not there. So the best we can do is project what we anticipate based on the reaction at the target. It's this, right? That's what gives me confidence that I've got the swings that they used. It's not this. Right? It's this. It's the reaction at the target. And just coincidentally, look where we go here. Right back to the golden zone. So this feels like these are the pivots that are in play. So even though it doesn't fit with the count per se precisely, I mean, it still fits, right? We get this algo target here. It does look like they use this because they don't, that algorithm not concerned with, oh, it looks like I've got an expanded flat. Well, I've got to change the pivot. They're just working from dominant pivots. All right, so that is so precise. Right? I think that's what we've got there in terms of what the algorithms did last, or this particular algo that we can track. So if this is my A wave, I'm pretty solid here on 3 into the B. Now we're getting a little problematic here now, but I did want to show you this because this is an important point. I mention this often, but this is just a great example of it. Okay, so you'll often hear me talk about this ABC pattern that we know the algorithms like. Well, I've got 2 of them here. Well, here, let me draw them in here. So I've got this one right here. So there's this alternating pivots pattern there. And then from here, we know they like this, the same thing. I've got the exact same situation here. All right, so I've got that 3-wave swing. Note the pivots. All right, so from this swing low to this swing high, right? Golden zone, reaction. Now, same thing. Remember, there's always an algorithm on the other side. Same setup here. I've got my ABC. Swing low here, swing high. What do we do? Right? Do you see that? Golden zone to golden zone. Right? So where are we going? At this point, right, so that looks like there's a pivot here. So this algorithm here is playing defense at the golden zone, looking for that as the target. But you've got competing algos, right? So we've got one here that's working for that. So who's going to win it? Well, we don't know. But at this point here, whoever does win, this becomes a bit of a tell for us, right? So the algorithms, it's just they just remember, guys, there's not some guy here sitting, oh man, well, I stopped out of that, I better move back. It's just the software is just going to work from these dominant pivots. So it won't care, right? Of course, right? There's no, right? It'll just, so let's say it breaks here, all right, and this algorithm gets its target. Well, that changes our count because we can't have the B here. So then we have to look at this as potentially a larger A, B, C, and then the B would be moving over here. So we'd have the 3, 3, and then be interesting to see if we got 5 here. Now, if it doesn't break, pardon me, well, here's what I want to say. If this algorithm wins it, right, thereafter, this is their first target, second, third target, so there are multiple targets down here. Right, so if this one wins it, that's going to affect our analysis as well. So if this holds, then this, so this is a little tricky here. So so here's a clear 3. All right, so immediately you're thinking, well, that's not helping me if I'm trying to get a C wave down here, because you look at it, you kind of want to do this. You kind of want to go 1, 2, 3, looks like 4, and you'd end up with a double bottom in the 5. Now let me get that something we can see. Let's go into white. So it does look like I got a little problem here, right? So that wouldn't work for me. Well, okay, maybe a diagonal, but I don't overlap. Right, until I get over here. So this just doesn't look like it's complete. It doesn't look like we're done yet. This is a little bit of a problem, right? So at this point, it looked like 5. That's pretty much a straight rip. So there's, oh shit, I'm on a 15. So already, yeah, you can probably get it there. But this is a bit of a problem here for an Elliottian to try and get a count that you could have some confidence in, right? So eventually the market will reveal itself. We'll have something to work with. Right now we're a little bit stuck in, we're just in a fib fight. So until we get resolution as to which algorithm is going to win, it's a bit of a hurry up and wait here. Now, so you say, oh shit, man, so I sat through all of that and there's no trade here. Well, I'm certainly, definitely, the count would bias you towards the short side, right? Which is, what are we now, 9, 10 years into this? Playing the short side has not been the most profitable way to approach the S&P, right? So buying the dips has worked for so long that there's just a natural tendency to want to avoid getting aggressively short here. But it does certainly appear like we're in the midst of this correction here. And it would be, well, from an Elliottian's perspective, this would be so unusual to have us be finished here at such a shallow point here. So here's the 50 down here. It just doesn't look like we're done. So if this pivot's going to hold, because the count is unclear here, I'm a little hesitant to get overly aggressive on the short side. I want to see who's going to win this count, because I think it's a very real possibility that the larger correction, as I was just drawing it up here, let's put it in context, could very well go in here. So we could have this before we head down. So you look there and you go, all right, well, so again, what did the algorithms last do? So if I draw this back up here, tighten it up, right? That's tapped into it twice, defended twice. So if that's the case, if this is going to play as an ABC, then that would actually make more sense to us, because then we could understand where we were. So we had 3, 3. We'd be looking to go up in 5 to complete the B at a larger degree. So that would come over here. Then you'd be pulling from here, looking for, well, 7, 8, 6. Right. Well, so if we're going to get to that algo target, we're going to break through this, right, this resistance here. Now take note, this is the pivot high. So we'd be breaking through any sell side algos here. Right, bullish. Right, here's the last stand on this retracement. So until we get resolution here, this is a little bit of a tricky one. I don't know that I would necessarily, if you're not in the market already from a short off of, because we had looked at this earlier in the week and set up a couple of different ways to approach it, right? So potentially some option trades, some things that we were looking at last. We looked at this, I think we're 7-8 days ago. If you're not already ready, and so if you were a bear off of the idea that we were going to pivot here and start heading down, the fact that we hold the 618 here, right, that wouldn't have been what you'd been hoping for, because this algo right here, right, on the assumption that swing high, swing low, is it a front run? We know they'd likely start at the 50. Are they still defending here? They're looking for this target. So the fact that we hold here, right, that would not have been what you'd want to see here, but it doesn't surprise me, right? They're just playing defense, right? So bulls playing defense. So I don't know that, well, let me say this. I would not be adding to any short biased or delta short positions if you trade it if you went into it with options, or if you used a CFD, or if you're in the futures market. There's not enough clarity here. We got to break out of this zone, right? So we're just in a fib fight between these two golden zones. And that will set us up to where we'll have a better idea of where we are in this count once we get resolution outside of this box. Now, that's a pretty damn big box, right? So we'll cut 2833 to 2900. That's a mighty big box, right? So we've got a pretty good range here. So to be doing anything as we sit smack dab in the middle of the range, just as a reminder that we're here now at this golden. So you've got golden within golden. So this is really interesting. So let's do this one in red. I'll outline that box. All right, can you see that one? And then we've got a smaller one here, right here. So we've got dueling fib fights. Now let's put that one back into blue. So do you see this range here? What a great example of how these algorithms work. All right, so we've got this one, this one, this one. So we're just bouncing. I mean, so let's see. I mean, there's so many of them in here. I don't even know that we need to go back here, and we've been through them so many times. So this is just a good example, right? So just the idea here, you've got to pay attention to these golden zones because the market is so responsive, because that's where the algorithms play. So we got to get first resolution out of the inside box and then resolution from the outside box before we can have any degree of confidence as to where we are. Is this the B? Are we going up for a higher B? Is this a B? And we're going to start work into some sort of a diagonal here. Certainly, potentially. Come here. Now, if this pivot holds, if this golden zone holds, and we start to break down, then you start to feel better about this. But we still don't have. God, that annoys me. We don't have any clarity. Are we done with this section of it here? We've got to break this golden zone here to get some clarity, because right now I can barely dig an ABC out of this, and I've got to allow for a double bottom at the golden zone. Right, so as soon as you hear yourself saying, well, I got to allow for, and it's unusual, but that's where you're maybe the better play is to let a little more data be revealed here so we can get a better sense of, is this pivot enough here for us to start, and are we just correcting that move here before we head back down? It's just too soon to tell. So I would not be adding anything here, but I think potentially now, once we get resolution here, there's going to be some good trading setting up. We need to know, where are we here? Is there another leg down on this before we start the retracement? Then if we get something like this, so if this is going to come down, and then we get the retrace, now that sets up for the broader structure and the count that would appear to be in play. That starts to make more sense. Then we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe the whole thing starts coming together, knowing that we've got a big target down here at 26. What do we call it? 2640. So a bit of a hurry up and wait for resolution here. Going to be very interesting to see how this resolves here. This being the big one, because that eliminates a sell side algo from the pivot high. All right, there we go, guys. Okay, I'll be back with one more here, and so I'll talk to you.